Welcome to Jesus TV. You would be forgiven to think that water comes from a faucet because it does. You would be forgiven for thinking Goliath was killed by a little stone thrown from David's sling because he was. When you grow up and are trained up in a fully ripe anti-Christ society like ours, you would be forgiven for largely believing the humanistic approach that logically and practically teaches and demonstrates that every man, quote, every man fares in this life according to the management of the creature. Therefore, every man prospers according to his genius, and that every man conquers according to his strength, end quote, Alma 30:17. Because he does. Why would you or I be forgiven for believing these things? Because Jesus himself pleaded on the cross for the Father to forgive us humans, our ignorance and stubbornness. Jesus said it in agony with his last few words on earth: Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We can say, Forgive us, Father, for it sure looks obvious like water comes from a faucet. It's not so obvious that water comes from Jesus. We can say, Forgive us, Father, for it sure looks obvious that David's slingshot stone was how Goliath was slain. It's not so obvious that it was Jesus who took aim and put that little rock into Goliath's head in a lethal way. We can say, Forgive us, Father, for it sure looks obvious that everyone in this life, full of nails, fares according to the management of the creature and prospers according to their genius and their strength, their hammer swinging abilities. We can say, Father, it's not so obvious that everyone fares and prospers according to the power and will and designs of Jesus. And when exactly would we be forgiven for thinking like we naturally do about these things? Well, Jesus set it up. We would be forgiven when we repent, when we stop believing and emphasizing half truths and begin to recognize the larger truths. Our water comes from Jesus. Our deliverance from Goliath comes from Jesus. Every ounce of management capacity comes from Jesus. Every ounce of genius comes from Jesus. Every ounce of strength comes from Jesus. He alone. When we repent, that's when we can be forgiven. Help me repent, Lord. Help me acknowledge your hand in all things.